Hey everyone, welcome back to Care Fiction. I'm your host Subhankar. And we are back again with another fictional language, and this time we are going to explore the Klingon language, which is probably the most spoken and a widespread constructed language. Just a reminder that the fictional language series began with the Dothraki language, which if you have not seen yet or want to revisit it, the link shall be right here. And if you want to get notified of more amazing content, please do consider subscribing. It is just a click away. Now this video may get a wee bit technical, but I assure you that it is going to be very interesting. And for a language as famous as Klingon, it would be better if we looked at its conception. So let's begin with that. The Klingon language was created by Mark Okrand, but as a linguist, he started to work on the Star Trek series with another language, Vulcan. And it all started with this conversation between Saavik and Spock from the Wrath of Khan. The first lines of Klingon were spoken by James Doohan, who played the role of Montgomery Scott. And it was during the Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, that Mark Okrand was brought in to expand the language based on a dozen or so words spoken by James Doohan. So, Mark Okrand had some raw materials to begin with, like the Klingon names, a few conversations, and the Klingon culture. The Klingons are a warmongering, warrior race who prize honor above everything else. That is, they adhere to a strict code of honor. Before we go further, let me explain certain technical terms related to linguistics. Firstly, there is morphology, which studies the words of a language, how they are formed, and their relationships. Morphology deals with morphemes, which is the smallest meaningful unit in a language. They have a grammatical function or a meaning or maybe both, like cats, which can be broken down into cat and s. The root here is cat, which is also a morpheme, and s, which denotes the plural form, is also a morpheme. Likewise, unbreakable has three morphemes, un, break, and able, but together they are one single word, and that is what is called agglutination, gluing together morphemes. And Klingon is an agglutinating language. Examples of human languages which are extensively agglutinating are Turkish, Swahili, the Inuit languages, and also all the Dravidian languages, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and Malayalam. With the technical bobble over, let's break down the language by starting with the writing systems. You might be wondering that the Klingons are an alien race, but the script is based off Latin, very similar to English. Well, the Klingon do have their own script known as Picard, which are a series of glyphs. These glyphs can be transliterated to the Latin alphabet as such. So they have 26 alphabets, 20 consonants, and 5 vowels, and this apostrophe denotes a glottal stop, which is a letter, not a punctuation mark in Klingon. I am leaving here a chart on how to pronounce each of these alphabets, so you may pause and have a good look. But what is a glottal stop? It is a sound used in many spoken languages, produced by obstructing the airflow in the vocal tract, or more precisely, the glottis. So there could be a drop in the intensity of a pause in the utterance, like the t sound in water, or like in uh-oh, as there is a little pause. But the pause in Klingon is very abrupt, like ha dibba or ka win. Back to the writing system. When written in the Latin alphabet, Klingon is case sensitive, with some letters written in capitals and others in lowercase. That denotes the pronunciation and depends on the place in the mouth from which the sound is made. But how does an alien language like the Klingon sound? Let's find out. In technical terms, we are going to look at the phonology and the phonetics of the language. As the language is based on the Klingon culture, the language had to sound guttural and harsh. So in order to sound unusual, Mark Okrand selected sounds that combine in ways not generally found in other languages. As a matter of fact, when Mark Okrand developed this language, he looked into human languages like Arabic, Turkish, Yiddish, Japanese, and Native American languages. But he looked into the phonological and grammatical features of these languages only from a design point of view. So let's brush over the consonant and the vowel sounds very quickly. To clarify, a consonant is a sound that puts some sort of obstruction in the way of the airflow, thereby producing a different sound. A vowel, on the other hand, is a sound produced when air is allowed to pass out of the lungs unimpeded. This here is the IPA chart for the consonants. We have already looked at the glottal stop. This row denotes the place of articulation and this column means the manner of articulation. If you want to look more deeply, you may pause and look at these charts, and also I will be leaving links in the description. The consonants are arranged very differently from that of most human languages, but the vowels are, however, simple and similar to those of many human languages such as Spanish or Japanese. This here is the IPA chart for the vowels. Let us look into the grammar of the Klingon language, and we start with the most interesting part, word order. In English, the primary word order is subject, verb and object. The other word orders are these. But Okrand wanted Klingon to be not like human language and make it as alien as possible. So he decided to subvert the patterns of most human languages, and so he picked the rarest word order of them all. Object, verb, subject. Among the human languages, there are 4 languages that I know of: Apalai, Hixkariana, Guarihio, Urarina, that follow this word order syntax. Apalai is a Caribbean language spoken in Brazil. Hixkariana is also one of the Caribbean languages spoken by people who dwell on the Namunda River, a tributary of the Amazon River in Brazil. The Caribbean languages, not to be confused with Caribbean, are a family of languages indigenous to the northeastern South America. Urarina is a language spoken in Peru, specifically in the Loreto region of northwestern Peru by the Urarina people. Guarihio is an Uto-Aztecan language of the states of Chihuahua and Sonora in northwestern Mexico. Let's take this example. If transliterated word to word in English, it would mean something like this, which for an English speaker would translate to, "Fortunately, the commander found the spy aboard the ship." For the sake of time, I will briefly go over nouns and verbs in the Klingon grammar, cause it would take a long time to explain these. Just basic things. In English, we have different types or classes of nouns, like common nouns, pronouns, etc. But Klingon has 3 noun classes, which are living beings with an innate capacity to use language. The second one is body parts, and the third is rest of the nouns. Klingon has a large set of suffixes, and there are 26 noun suffixes which when packed together can form a single word like this. I am not making this up. That is one single word which I won't even try to pronounce it, and it means this. When it comes to the Klingon verbs, there is verb aspect, but the verbs do not express tense. You may know that while tense tells us when a situation occurs, like present, past and the future, aspect tells us how it occurs, or how it is viewed by the speaker in terms of its frequency, its duration, and whether or not the action denoted by the verb is completed. Let's take an example. Last meet, Pashma, God. To break down word to word in English, it would mean something like this. Or if we want to sound it more like English, then it could be something like this. The person caused the door to be opened. But in English, we say it as this. The person opened the door. I know one example wouldn't suffice, but I think you got the point. And there is a lot more about the Klingon verbs, which I can explain maybe in a separate video. Let's talk about the vocabulary. Now, a center point of developing this language has been the influence of culture on the language. Since they are a warrior race, there are a lot of words that mean to fight, each having a different degree of intensity. Likewise, their vocabulary is also inundated with words related to warfare and weaponry. There are a few words in English which cannot be expressed or translated as accurately. For instance, to say hello, as expressed in English, you may have to say nukna, meaning what do you want in Klingon. That's the closest you can get to say hello. But I love how they express goodbye as kapla, which means success. That's a good way of saying farewell. So that's all for Klingon with respect to this video. And of course the Klingon language is vast and that cannot be condensed however one explains. But these are some of the most interesting bits of the language. Let me know if you want to know more about the Klingon language, like the Klingon grammar or any other fictional language for that matter. That's it for today. Make sure to like, subscribe and comment. See you soon.